How diddly do? So I wanted to make some videos about recording to tape, starting with multi-track cassette recording, which is what I started on in the 1990s. It's probably been the best part of 25 years since I've done it. But one of the things that inspired me to go back was this, the Sansui WS-X1, which I thought was a little bit different than the kind of Fostex and Tascams that you see a lot of videos about on YouTube. I found this for 80 quid. It mostly sort of works. It needs a good service, but hopefully it'll hold up long enough that we can get a video done. So before it breaks, let's get on with it. So I wanted to talk about why you might own or use a multi-track cassette recorder when it's dead technology. And there are in fact many different reasons. I'm just going to show you a few of those. And the first reason doesn't involve using the cassette section at all. It involves using the recorder to process and colour sounds. Okay, so we've got an old drum machine running through the 6 tracks. So the first thing we can do is obliterate it. So that's pretty over the top, as much as it is fun. You could just record one sound at a time, really smashed up, and that's kind of cool. But a lot of the time you're going to want to do something much more subtle. So let's just feed it in a little bit until it starts to bite and crisp up. And what's cool is you can push it on the way in and overload it and then back it off, either here on the fader or on the stereo master. And that's pretty vibey. It's got a bit of crispness to it, it's got some punch to it, but it's not completely overdriven and destroyed. It's pretty nice. So that's the first thing you can use this for, is just vibey recordings. So the next thing you might want to use a multi-track cassette recorder as is a multi-track cassette recorder. That is its intended purpose. And recording to cassette will inherently have a quality to it, or a lack of quality to it because of the medium. And so what I'm going to do is just a very simple little synth jam, few drum machines, few synths, and I'm going to split the signals and simultaneously record the same performance through my DAW and also through the 6 track. You'll hear the DAW recording first as I'm performing it, and then we'll switch over to the cassette so you can hear the big difference. So you can hear it's quite a dramatic difference, and I don't know if this machine is particularly crusty because it needs a good service or whether they always sounded like that, but that kind of sound might suit your music or might suit the sound of a band that you're producing. And something else you could do is, like I did, split the recording, and then you can run the individual tracks out off the back of it. And then you've got lo-fi and hi-fi versions of the same performance, and you could maybe switch between them from a verse to a chorus, or from the main part of a song to a breakdown section, or you could have some instruments hi-fi and some instruments lo-fi. You may have to check the tape speed to make sure it stays in sync, but it's just another way of approaching audio. So another thing you can do with a cassette recorder like this is play around with the tape speed, which is just endless fun. I remember as a teenager in the 90s, that was the thing I used to muck about with the most. So what you can do is record, say, a cliche 80s jam and run the tape a bit fast and then slow it down. It's just vaporwave central. So again, I'll split the signal. You'll hear the DAW recording on the way in, and then we'll cut over to this guy. It's going to be fun. So another thing you can do with a multi-track cassette recorder is something I've seen quite a lot of people do, but it's associated with Alessandro Cortini, which is where you record either a bunch of different drones or different sounds or chords or stems from a multi-track recording onto a multi-track cassette recorder, and then you play it back and then you perform with the faders, bringing things in and out, playing with the effects sends, playing with the tape speed, and you use it as a performance tool, as an instrument. Let's try it out. So there we go. There's just a few things you can do with a multi-track cassette recorder, and I'm sure you guys will suggest more things you can do with a multi-track cassette recorder. And I think what's interesting about it is you'll get your equipment, you'll get a particular multi-track cassette recorder, you'll play around with the preamps and the EQ and the effects send and the tape speed, and the machine will inherently have a sonic quality, and then it'll lead you down a particular path because of the way it works and the way you interact with it, and you'll record something. And that's always going to be different and more unique than just recording something and then sticking a tape emulation plugin as an afterthought. There's nothing wrong with plugins. It's just if you want to get out of the box and you want to think in a different way, and you want a different sonic experience, I think this is quite an interesting way to go. I thought it'd be fun to record some sounds from various sources into the Sansui and then sample them and make a sample pack. Here's a little blast of that. If you like the sound of that, that is available on the top tier on my Patreon, along with the music from this video. Thank you to my patrons for their support. And of course, thank you to you for watching.